Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jersey Shore podcast. That is SURE because we are always sure. I'm your host, Damon Galdo, coming to you live from my home, but through First Amendment Live Studios, representing the Great America's Pulse Network. Now, to get started, we're going to start with some breaking news. And usually, breaking news is something that's happening nationwide or even overseas or what they would. This is actually personal breaking news. So, this one is for me for once. So the breaking news is I am running for Gloucester County State Committee. And the way I want to talk about this show, you're going to see, I want to talk about it in a certain way. So that's just your short breaking news right there. And then I want to roll into my monologue, and here it goes. So I want to speak directly to my fellow Republicans in Gloucester County and across New Jersey. I'm running for state committee, not for power, not for title, and not for some backroom favor. I'm running because I believe in what this party is supposed to stand for: freedom, transparency, and giving the people a real choice. You see, I didn't get involved in politics because I wanted to play the game. As you know, I did run for Congress before. I don't want to talk about it that much, but I did. So I threw my hat in the ring before. So now I'm going to do that for state committee. And it is kind of an establishment position. And a lot of people were asking why would I run for an establishment position, because I'm anti-establishment. Well, they answered it for me. That's the reason why. I got involved because I wanted to change the game, to stop the same old deals, the same insider politics, the same people telling you how to vote and who's best for you while never asking you what you actually want. And let me be clear, I'm not against strong leadership, but leadership is in control. Telling committee members that the party will fall apart if you don't vote a certain way, that's not leadership, that's manipulation. If you've been told that voting your conscience will destroy the party, then you're not being led, you're being threatened. Which brings me to compare politics to the movie The Wizard of Oz. Now, I don't know if you guys saw that when you were younger. Most people did, but it's kind of a cool comparison of it. So the great and powerful Oz, it basically boomed and flashed and created, a spectacle. But when that curtain was pulled back, what did we find? A man, just a man, pulling levers, hiding behind illusions. And what did he say? And we're going to get to the first segment title in a minute, and that's called Pay No Attention to the Man Behind the Curtain. Well, I'm telling you, pay attention, because behind the curtain is this, behind this, the curtain of this party are people pulling the levers, trying to protect their positions, their titles, their grip on power, and they'll say and do anything, just to keep you from noticing. And that's why I'm running to begin with, and that's why our guest, what I'll get to soon, he did the same thing. He's now, I wouldn't say he's anti-establishment as me, but I'll let him talk about himself. But I know he has the core values of the Republican Party. So I fought hard to tear down that curtain. I helped some seat changes, already to bring real change in Gloucester County. I stood up against the county line because I believe more candidates mean more choice, and more choice means more freedom for the voters and committee members. And I'll get to the county line in this segment as well. I'll explain it to you. Now, the very thing that I fought to dismantle, it still lingers, and it's slowly being reconstructed, whatever, but it still lingers. There's still people out there. So the curtain is being stitched back together, and the same things keep creeping back in. So here's what I'm saying: I am beholden to no one, but the people who elect me. That's it. But the people who elect me, I'm beholden to them. I have no ambition for this seat beyond restoring trust and fairness in this process. I believe in the Republican Party that listens to its members, not the one that manipulates them. A party that leads with principle, not pressure. If we want to win elections, we must earn trust and not loyalty. So everyone in Gloucester County, the committee people that are now allowed to vote, and I'll tell you how all that works and what happened with the county line and everything else. I'm just asking for your vote, not because I've been chosen, because I'm choosing you. I'm choosing the people over politics, the truth over the illusion. And I promise you, if I have anything to say about it, there will be no more curtains left to hide behind. So let's get into our first segment. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. All right, Albert Harshaw is going to be our guest. So Albert Harshaw ran for U.S. Senate. Albert is a great guy. I called upon him last night. I know he used to be on the podcast in the beginning, So, and we've been talking a lot, and I know he wants to come back on. He's very knowledgeable about a lot of different things. He's a great guy. He's a vet. He's going to tell you a lot of different things. Great guy to have on. So let's bring on Albert right now. Hopefully he's coming on. So we'll see what happens. So Albert, when you come on, we'll start talking. I don't know. Like I said, he got thrown in like last minute because we were talking on the phone. I said, "Do you want to come on tonight?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So he ran down his basement real quick, and he's like, "I'm just going to set up my basement. Let me get my." Oh, there he is. He's on. So, hey Albert, I don't start to put you on the spot so quickly. I know you had to run down to your basement to get set up, and you were busy. You got back from walking the dogs. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
No worries, my pleasure. Thank you.
So yeah, so I'll just explain to everybody, how this episode is called The Emerald City, and I figured it'd be kind of fun to compare it to The Wizard of Oz and pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So what do you think about that?
I heard that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Look here, don't look there. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason why I put it that way, because you got to spin it one way to make it kind of funny, but like say for instance, when I ran for Congress, you ran for U.S. Senate at the same time. Did you ever get a phone call from anybody and say, "Well, I don't think you should run. Maybe get behind this person. Maybe drop out"? Did you get any of that? Because I know I did here and there.
Honestly, in that aspect, in all honesty, no, I did not.
Okay, all right. Well, good for you. I mean, I did when the first time when people didn't know me at all, I just jumped in. I get it. The second time when people knew who I was, I still got that message of, well, why don't you do something else? And it was always another offer. That's what it was. It was like, you'd be good to run for this position. You'd be good to run for mayor. You'd be run for that. And I'm like, well, no, I'm running for this. I mean, so what? Let anyone run for what they want to run for and let the voters decide. But when you pressure people to back out, then that's not really the way it's supposed to work.
Well, I think for me, it was a little different. I think a couple of things. I think for me, they were not sure what to think about me, or what to do. In terms of, I was so new, they weren't sure which direction I was going to go, or maybe they did. But the general consensus was I wasn't 2,000 votes. I blew that out of the water. So, so I can't say that happened because it didn't. Do I think I did not like the county line because I took away power from the people? It's a republic. I defended the Constitution of the United States for a long time. Republics to the people. We surrender certain things to elected officials on a temporary basis. We never agreed for some secret organization to decide things for us. We should make that decision. I also fundamentally believe in varied open ideas that compete or make everyone's games better. It gives people a better perspective, choice, and helps make our republic work better. Once you're elected and you're in those houses, then that's when it operates as a democracy. But generally, we vote as republic, but we see. I think that's the biggest difference. So to that end, on our side, where we're at, we need to operate as a republic and protect that jealously, legally, lawfully, but jealously.
No, you're absolutely right when you say that. You're absolutely right. And to explain to everybody what the county line was, New Jersey was the only state that had that. And this is the first election year that it doesn't. So the county line basically, they were every candidate that was going to run, they got appointed by the chair to get the line. So I'll just explain it this way, very simple matters. So say in November, let's just say the last primary, last June. So if there was a Republican primary, so Trump was running. So when you were to look at your ballot, you would see the very first column, you would see Donald Trump at the top, and then whoever was deemed to get the county line from the county chairs, it was whoever was running for Congress, whoever was running for U.S. Senate, whoever was running for Assembly, whatever it may be. Like everything was down the line, one column. Everyone got that column. So it looked like basically they were getting endorsed by Trump, or they were the ones. But people like Albert and myself, you would land in a different column. I was out in column E in Gloucester. I was out in column 6 in Camden. So I was way out there. So people actually had to look for me or even turn the page, to find where I was. What's that?
Siberia.
Yeah. So, I mean, so a lot of people, when they thought that they voted for somebody, and not just myself or anybody else that didn't have that line, they may have thought they voted for that person. Like, yeah, I wrote a Republican right down the line. So you can go in and hit one button and just light up the entire column and walk out. And you're not voting for the person you think.
Damon, let's say do this, please. I think this. I think the county line's dead. We took care of that.
It is. But no, I'm getting to where I'm at now. I was making a point.
Well, I want to talk about the success of the last election we just had with the governor's primary and the folks down ballot. And there was no county line. No matter what any individual thinks about it was wildly successful. The votes were spread out and varied. Jack Ciattarelli had a clear blowout without a county line, and I think the success of that was huge. I think I want to be careful here because I don't want to take anything add or take away because that's not what I'm here to do. But I think to a degree, possibly because so many people are trained to a county line. I think absent that, I think some people got more votes than otherwise might, and I think it proved that not having it is much more successful to any given candidate, and it's based on their outreach.
No, they absolutely got more votes because of the county line. The judge deemed it unconstitutional because
no, they got more votes. I think people got more votes without the county line. I mean, I've been going through and comparing.
I don't know where you're getting your data, but I wish I had it in front of me. I could prove it wrong. You had no chance. It led directly to a win. If you can point out, you're missing what I'm saying now. What I'm pointing out, I was just pointing out the county line to get to my point. Now the county line no longer exists because it wasn't right. We were the only state in the country that did it, so it wasn't right. The judge ruled against it and said it was unconstitutional.
Right, but I'm tired of belaboring it. That's like yesterday's fight. What I want to talk about
it's leading up into the point I was getting to. It's still the mentality. You're cutting me off here, buddy. So my point is the county line was deemed unconstitutional. It's gone. We did have a very, very successful election in Jack Ciattarelli. But my point that I was getting to was it still lingers in people's mind that if you were to back another candidate, say number one, if you look at the bylaws, no committee is allowed to actually in the state of New Jersey actually endorse any candidate during a primary. I'm not saying anybody did, but people are allowed to have their opinion. That's the whole point of a primary. But the way people look at it now, and the things that I've been hearing, and a lot of other people have been hearing in other counties as well, is if you openly said that you were voting for another candidate, say, and everyone already knows, I said that I was going to vote for Bill Spadia. I never said anything bad about Jack Ciattarelli. I think Jack Ciattarelli is a good guy, but it was my choice in a primary who was going to vote for. And that's not my I don't have a civic duty to vote for a certain person in a primary. It's my choice to do that. Now, what my duty is as a Republican, after the majority speaks, which our system worked the way it was supposed to work, and Jack was overwhelmingly elected. Now, my duty is to make sure that everyone gets out there and supports Jack. But people are saying, well, you back if you voted for Spadia, then you're no good. No, the whole system doesn't work that way. It was put in place for this reason, that people can have that choice. And then as a Republican, once the primary is over, then it's your duty to back that candidate, or else you shouldn't be a Republican or you shouldn't be voting Republican. You should be an independent or something else. That's my point.
Well, okay. Well, my point was this. I'm saying that without the county line, I think more candidates got more votes without the county line than they would have with the county line. And this last election proved you can get more votes without it, and we also had more people vote, I believe, than last time as well. We still have a voter deficit compared to Democrats we need to continue working on. That's something I've been out there doing. I'm working with some people and we're growing that specific organization. For us, because we're not trying to pick winners or losers. What we're saying is, look, we had a great roster of candidates for you to pick from. Pick one, you must. But then whoever it is that comes on top, I need you to vote in November again. And we need to not have animus towards each other. We need to understand we're going to have our teams, but there's going to be a winner, and we need to get behind that winner and make him win. That's a must.
But if that's what I'm saying. It's as simple as that. That's how simple it is. That's why it was designed that way. That's why when our government was formed, it grew the greatest nation ever on the planet because of our system was different than anyone else's. So what I was trying to convey to people is, even if you voted for someone else, I know people that voted for Justin Barbera. And Justin knew that I was, I told him I was going to vote for Spadia, and I like Justin very much. He's a very good guy. He is, and I like Jack too. But I knew Spadia differently, a little more closer, and I thought that maybe he'd be the better candidate. And people would say, "Well, if Jack got the Trump endorsement, you're wasting your vote." I said, "No way, I'm wasting my vote." I said, because if Bill loses, I'm throwing everything I have behind Jack. That's what the primary is there for. But people were starting to use that against people, saying, well, you voted for the other guy, so you're not a real Republican. No, that's just the way the system works. It was put together for a reason that way.
That's why they say vote your conscience.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You vote your conscience, and then after the majority speaks and that person gets in, then it's like, okay, well, the majority of people said this guy's good. And I've never said anything bad about Jack personally. I never heard. I know some people have, but
there's no
I
reason.
didn't. It was just, hey, I think Jack's a good guy. I just thought that Spadia might represent my interest better or my family's interest. I just knew him more on a personal level than I knew Jack. But that's my whole point is the division and people trying to drive a wedge in between who you voted for in the primary. That is not what the party's about. Your duty as a Republican comes after the primary. If you're a registered Republican,
your job as a Republican, your duties to your oath, your job is different.
Well, okay, fine. You put it. You can word it how you want, but you know where I'm going with it. That's what I meant by it. That's what, because if not, I would have been an independent, or anybody else would have. But if you are a Republican, you stand behind the conservative, grassroots Republican values that I do, and I know you do. That's why you get to choose. That's why there was 5 people that ran. So some people might have chose Bramnick, some people went with Kranjak, and that's fine. But the people that chose them, for the most part, are getting behind Jack, and they all should. That's my point. Everyone should. That's Republican. You should use that to drive a wedge into the party.
Well, what me and my people are doing is the organization I'm building is a force multiplier. We have somebody doing early voting. We have somebody inside the campaigns doing things, but campaigns are limited as to what they can do, and what's absent is a force multiplier unit, and that's what we're acting as. We're getting to the outreach into the zones that others cannot, up and down ballot, because it's not just the governor's race. There's school boards, there's committees, there's everything, and all assemblies. All these need action, and they need help, and we need to act as a team, and that will is multiplier. Something in the military where something few acts as many, achieving a common goal and purpose, and that's what we're doing in building. So, we need to make sure we don't create, again, animus between our different camps, because we need to unify and come together. I think I come at it from a different point of view, and I think we don't have a huge organization in this state, so we need something that's going to be a force multiplier up and down the state, and so that needs to occur, and that's what we're working on. And your turn.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, the whole reason why I was bringing up the county line to begin with is just to point out that is gone now. And the new way they're voting on committee is just by the committee members voting, and no one is appointed anymore. So getting rid of the county line, it was completely rejected by people, and that's why people still do have their mind. It was a complete rejection of that style, and now it's the right way. I was just saying that it wasn't right, and now we have it the right way. And you point out, right, we had a great election. Jack won. He won by by a landslide. So but I was just pointing out, just get out of your mind. We don't have it anymore. Everyone rejected it, so it's gone. So don't keep that mentality. People are allowed to vote for somebody else in a primary, and you shouldn't hold that against them, because that's where it divides the party. That's where people say that they're not going to, come out and vote in November and back somebody else. And I actually did say something, but I was a little upset with Bill during the debate when he didn't say that he was going to get behind Jack if he lost. He eventually did say it, that he would. I haven't heard him say anything since, which he should come out and say something and tell all of his voters to get behind Jack. And if he doesn't do that, then shame on me for getting behind him. But that's what I did when you get behind the person, even though I lost to somebody, you get behind them. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what I did, because when you go through the committee phase, and I think they still do to a point, you're interviewing, one of the questions they ask you is, in the event that you should lose, would you support the winner? And the question is yes. So at that point, I think the obligation to fulfill your commitment at that point, if you should lose, to support both to help the one that won the primary win in the general. And I know you did. I did. I wish more would. It's my understanding many don't. More people did. That would be helpful, because those people that voted for those people need direction. Supporting the winner, being the big, pulling up your big boy pants, doing a thing, they're going to follow and vote for the guy, even though you didn't win. And that's what's supposed to happen, because you have a pool. They need to go somewhere. You bring them home to the winner.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that should be the first question that every candidate is asked. If you were to lose, I know it's not Vegas, it's not, nobody, they didn't come to lose. They're trying to win. But the first question was, if you do lose, will you get behind the person that wins? And that should be the first question. I mean, I even went as far as on the radio show when I was running, I brought one of my opponents in on my show with me just to show solidarity. A lot of people told me how stupid it was. Why would you bring somebody else in? And I said, I'm doing it to show solidarity. And of course, on my show, I said, vote for me, not my opponent. But I just said, listen, if he were to win, then I will get behind him. But if I win, he should get behind me. It was to prove a point. That's why I did it. And I don't mind having my opponent and sharing my platform with me. That's why I do the podcast. That's why I do the radio show, is to give everybody a voice and let the people decide. That's what it should be about. Now, I'm not going to continue that. It's not like if I'm going to run again, it's like I want to keep having my opponents come on. I did it one time just to show, hey, listen, I'm willing to do that because this is what's right, and this is the way everyone should view it.
Well, I say this. The person's measure is only good as the word they keep, not the one they say.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So anyway, so all that stuff aside, nothing about me anymore, because it's really not about me. I just wanted to point out that point. I hope Bill comes out and he tells all of his supporters to get behind Jack. He damn well should. So I haven't spoken to him since the election. Figured why bother? But it bother him at that close. But I will. And if he doesn't come out, I'm going to be very upset with him.
We need all hands on deck. I mean, just looking at the primary on scale, we have a vote deficit compared to the Democrats. So we have massive amount of work to do. We have independents we have to collect into our tent. We have Democrats we have to swing over into our tent. We have a lot of work to do. We have a huge deficit to overcome. Period. Full stop.
No, you're absolutely right. So anyway, like I said, with all that aside, I got a couple clips that I have from the sanctuary state governors that they were in congressional hearings. So we only have a little bit of time in this segment to keep going. So let's just get through these clips real quick. And the reason why this is called Pay No Attention, Man Behind the Curtain, they're pulling the curtain from these governors right now. So let's roll the first clip.
Interestingly enough, you did not include EO 170.1. Are you familiar with EO 170.1?
I don't have it in front of me. I have thousands of executive orders.
I have it right here, Governor.
Sure you do.
And what you did, you waited several years until this year, January 16th of this year, in which you finally signed it and reinstated it into law. Why did you wait until just 4 days before Donald Trump was sworn in as president, to sign EO 170.1 into law. And to refresh your memory, it basically mandates that federal immigration authorities cannot enforce civil arrests in New York State building.
Yeah, the reason why she waited until right before Trump got in is because that's my point. She didn't do that because she did it in the end because she wants to keep the illegals. So she did it because she knew Trump was going to follow the law. What are your thoughts? She did it to impede Donald Trump, and that's all she cared about was to stop Donald Trump from following the law and doing what was right. And then she wanted to make Trump look bad and anything against that administration. That's my thoughts.
You asking me?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look, was it Title 8, Section 1132, 1138, I believe, paragraph A through 4 reasons why you cannot come into this country. It's a matter of law. I was doing some homework earlier, and this will go to in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s. There was many Irish that came across the lake, pond, right? Most, for different reasons: famine, starvation, war. They were being discriminated against, all kinds of things. Civil War occurred. Meagher, a man named Meagher, formed the Irish Brigade. Very storied unit, very heroic. In fact, one of the battles, the other side stopped firing at them and gave them salutes because of their heroic march across the battlefield. And then they went back into their cities. You know, it's part of the reason why we have the green flags today on St. Patrick's Day, not the orange. And they came by the droves, but they came through ports. They were checked. They did something. They did everything lawfully. You know, and I'm using that and citing that because it's a comparison to the massive migrations that were going on today, that we're dealing with globally. It's an analogy. But they have to do it lawfully, and then as now people are rejected for lice, medical inability to be self-sufficient, all kinds of reasons. People were kicked out. You know, and there has to be lawful ingress. It can't be just willy-nilly. And with the gangs, which are acting as enemy armies at this point inside our borders, you know, that cannot continue. Absolutely, we have to go after them. You know, we're going to have to do something. You know, I still think we're not going to deport way out of this. There's the sheer numbers alone. I like the idea of going after the criminals. You know, there's many of them that have to be captured. There's many who are not. Our grounds cannot be a gangland killing ground for cartels or cartel control. We can't have zones where we're deregulated or paramilitarized by enemy forces. That just cannot happen. We have to control our domain.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna play the next clip too. That's gonna go to that point and show why they're hindering Trump from getting rid of these people. So let's just roll this next clip in this segment real quick.
In fact, we have the back and forth from Tompkins County and ICE on January 28th of this year, 8:56 p.m. Tompkins County tells ICE, we're not going to hold this guy. 7 minutes later, ICE responds back, we will be there to take custody this evening. 24 minutes later, Thompson County reiterates, we're not going to have him. We're not going to turn him over. 10:45. ICE arrives at the jail 1 hour and 18 minutes later, and guess what? Mr. Hernandez is not there. They couldn't wait 1 hour and 18 minutes for a guy who assaulted one of your residents with a machete, choked a police officer, and then when in custody, assaulted corrections officers. That is sanctuary policy in a nutshell, and that is what your state supports, and so do these other governors. That is what is so wrong, why the American people hate this concept.
And that is exactly why the American people do hate it, and they should. And for the sake of time, Albert, we're going to go take a quick break and go to our next segment and talk about what they're doing about it.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra Levine Live on the America's Pulse Network. You are all in with Alexandra Levine. We are still waiting for someone from the White House to come out and tell us what transpired between President Trump and Vladimir Putin on that call today. We are here live at the White House. We're waiting for White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to come out and tell us about the updates of today, the call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, what transpired in that call.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
That's Alexandra Levine, our White House correspondent there. So that's what that ad was. But so there's a couple clips I want to play here. So let's play the first one, and you tell me what you think about it. Because I pretty much know how you're going to respond, but I think.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
Your thoughts on that one, Albert?
About time.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, Ron DeSantis, I mean, he's a badass governor. You know what? He tells it like it is, and it's common sense stuff. You know, I mean, that's right. Oh, that's Alexander Levine right there. Say my governor is 100% right. So, all right, well, lucky you. So,
I mean, look, no one wants to have to do that. But I'll be damned if someone has to be a victim because they'll go to jail for doing that. So now they have license to escape.
Yeah, no, they do.
That's
So
what.
we had breaking news. Iranians are currently evacuating Tehran after Trump's warning. POTUS is flying back to D.C. after being in Canada for the G7 summit, reasoning the situation in the Middle East. Yeah, I know. I saw Trump did warn them to get out, but that's to switch subjects. But I mean, that's important right now. It says that they're evacuating Tehran, and the reason why they're doing that is because of what's going on. So Trump did warn them to evacuate, and so they are right now. So
Well, it warned them too. They're bombing the hell out of them.
yeah, I know they are. Well, hey, listen. And I guess we're changing the subject of that breaking news. That's not a problem because it's important. Because I think Trump right now is playing like the best chess game that he possibly can play. He knows that Obama's deal, with Iran was horrible. And he said it for years. It was horrible. So there was not going to be an Obama deal 2.0 and let them, enrich uranium. They have, I mean, they're the largest producer of like oil, so they don't need nuclear power. They're doing it for a bomb. And that's the thing. You look at the difference between they kept stalling. And Trump said, come to the table. And they didn't. So what Trump did was just say, basically, Israel, go ahead and take care of it. And he did it in a way where, go ahead and you take care of it. They do have our support, but yet he didn't expend one missile from the United States. He didn't put one United States military person's life on the line. Israel's taking care of it. Now, are we defend them, help them shoot down the rockets? Because Iran is firing it in the heart of civilians. Israel is attacking nuclear sites and all their missile sites and everything like that. And Israel is the only. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. The only country that puts out a warning, drops messages from the air, puts it out in the air, telling civilians to evacuate and saying we're going to bomb this. So get your civilians free. They're the only military or only country I've ever seen do that.
That I cannot answer. But what I can say is I wish Carter had done that a long time ago because we would not be dealing with the Iran that there is today.
No, we wouldn't have. Carter is to blame for this. I mean, sorry, but Carter was a pussy. And he was. So, and that's why Reagan got in. Reagan needed to do that. And I'm sorry to call him that. He was a president. And he deserves respect for being a president. But I just think that's how I view him.
He's a complicated guy. How can I put this? To a degree, he believed in kumbaya, which is a bad idea because it's never going to happen. It never has in human history. And until the second coming of Jesus Christ, there just isn't going to be kumbaya. I'm just a pragmatist about that. But at the same time, he was the man of the hour when we had our own nuclear power plant meltdown going on, and he went there and he crisis and problem solved that and helped solve that and resolve it, get a successful resolution. And because the guy was a nuclear scientist, he's not just a peanut farmer. And for all the jokes about more pills than Carter, he was the smartest guy in the room at the time, and he helped save his country. He did, and no matter what people want to say, and he got us a lot of problems, but to a degree, I think he solved the most massive one.
Well, yeah, I was more alluding to his foreign affairs because if you were in Israel's place, and I said this on last podcast, and Netanyahu said that, and he pointed out and hit home here because it's Jersey Shore. He said Israel's the size of the state of New Jersey. So if you're surrounded by all bad actors that just want to call for the annihilation of Israel and its entire country, and they call for it openly, and they're developing nuclear weapons, and you are going to wait and say, okay, well, I'm going to believe them and let them develop one when everything they're doing is saying what they're going to do, and then just allow them to do it. You have to preemptively strike. They didn't have a choice.
Well, just the other night, the tech believed. I don't want to say anything false. It's believed that Iran detonated 2 test nuclear bombs underground because there's 2 separate 2-point plus magnitude earthquakes at their nuclear facility when they were bombing Israel the other night.
Okay, I may have. I don't really know anything about that, but yeah. I'm not sure. So
that actually did happen. And then a few hours after that, Khomeini's on the run, from what I understand, dead or on the run, one of the two. And now they got a top general who's taking command and control of Iran, part of the Iranian whatever forces. And he's not a peace guy either. He's just as bad. Look, I think we need to pound the evil regime down to dust and allow Israel to do that. So, because Iran was our friend beforehand, Iran could be our friend again. And
they definitely can be. There's nothing wrong with the Iranian people. The Iranian people are good people. It's just they're stuck under that regime.
Before they're our ally, we used to go there for a holiday. We can do this again.
Yeah. No, I could. I mean, and you see a lot of Iranians are actually cheering this on. They want this regime going. They've been living under their evil rule for a while.
At that point, the people have to rise up too.
Yeah, they should. But then, whether if you don't have the means and methods, you can find them eventually. I don't think the United States had the means and methods at the time when we rose up against the British, but we found a way eventually.
But they have station police chiefs who are part of the regime. They can be gotten to easily. There are local politic bureau members who are of the evil regime that can be gotten to and ought to be if they want the country back. Just saying.
So yeah, I know it's a tough situation. I mean, there's nothing good about any of this. I mean, it shouldn't have to happen. But like you said,
it must occur. I say take the evil guys and put their heads on pikes and give message to the world to never again.
No, you're right. I mean, and that's the way you have to convey things too. You have to show peace through strength, but you have to just say, okay, we had enough, and and we're getting. Because I want to finish out this segment and then wrap up the show in a little bit, but that's why you have to get the point where you said enough. We're doing DeSantis, so I want to just play this other clip and just show you right here in the States, this Florida sheriff that says that he had enough too. So let's roll that clip.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tight, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
See, and it's got to stop. Completely different level than what we're talking about, but there comes to a point where you have to just acknowledge it and say, this is what we're going to do. I mean, that's, like I said, a completely different level than what Israel's doing, but people have to acknowledge they didn't have a choice. Somebody had to step up and say, it's got to stop. Because like you said before, you're not living in La La Land, you're pragmatic. You know, you know, I mean, you've been there, done that. I mean, you've served. So you have more experience than I do. But you know that if there's a threat, I mean, you're smart enough. You're a very smart guy. You know, one of the smartest guys I know. And it's just, if you know there's a threat, you have to think about it in a certain way. I mean, you could tell me better than I can explain. You know, you can't let it happen or just trust that someone's going to do something good.
Yeah, there's many ways of dealing with threats. You could remove the problem that causes the threat. You could remove the threatener. You could, you know, there's different things you could do. You could do deterrence. I mean, there's plenty of nonviolent methods of solving it, and sometimes there's violent methods. But the bad actors have to understand both versions are always on the table at all times.
Yeah, they have to be. And I think it was handled the way it got handled, to the point where there was no choice. You know, there was talks, you know, come to an agreement, more talks, and they were just stalling. And then someone can stall you as much as they can until they develop what they were trying to develop. And then once they have that, you know, and you can fire, you know, a nuclear missile into Israel.
This is why I was kind of there at this point, because one of the things I believe in is choices and earning. You start off with a bunch of things on the table, and you say, look, this action equals this action equals that. This one goes good, this one goes bad. What you do as action or words will yield something, good or bad. Either way, you will earn it. You can earn a death, you can earn a life, you can earn a sanction, you can earn a trade deal. They earned their doom.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right there. They did. So anyway, so I got one more clip to play, because I want to finish out this segment and just show that, beat the Toto. And this is Tom Homan is talking about the illegal immigration. It's basically going on, and he just said what everybody knows, exactly why they want to keep the illegals here. So let's roll this last clip.
And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed, $127 a night, rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose, because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings can be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country off for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. And he's absolutely right. I mean, I've heard you say, I've heard many people say it was for votes. So they're trying to stall all this so they can naturalize, these illegals and hope that a Democrat administration gets back in. And that's just a fact. There's no way around it.
Well, it's been a political football for 40 plus years. Also, neither side is trying to actually solve it. They use it as a weapon against the other side, and they do it to raise money. It does need to be solved. Period. We need to come to some kind of resolve to solve it. All this abortion by itself isn't a solution. It's getting rid of the bad actor problem, but it's not solving the immigration problem. It still doesn't. We need to solve the immigration problem itself.
Well, you solve it by having strong borders and let people in. I mean, that you're right. It has been a political thing for so long. Like whether you're going to deport people or not, or let them stay, or give them amnesty because they've been here for so long. That was the horse of a different color. When the Biden administration got in, it was just wide open borders, let them come in, unvetted, boom. That's never happened before. Just let them roll in, don't know who they are, and pay for them to stay in these places. Like you said, $500 a night. That's not a joke. That was serious. $500 a night in these 5-star hotels in New York City.
There's a gentleman named Brian. I forget his last name, but I talked to him from time to time. He had a good idea. We should be taking command and control of the Donbass region down there. That should be our immigration checkpoint control because so many comes from there, from all around the world, and it's missold by a lot of people on the left as Mexican, South American immigration. It's a global, something like 110 countries are coming through that zone. They take boats and ships and planes down there, and then they come up through there and whatever else. I think that should be our second control border. It's a smaller area. It's a smaller border to control. As one of many, not a sole solution, but one of many solutions. As well as taking back direct command and control of the Panama Canal as well.
So, well, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that Trump has pointed out, as soon as he got to when he was running, and then when he got in, taking control of the Panama Canal again. And I'll be honest, that's something that wasn't even on my radar until it was pointed out. And I started digging into it. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize what's going on.
It's been on my radar, and I have a few solutions for what they're going through because they're going through some channel lock problems due to water surges in those channel lakes. And I have some solutions on that too. But we also need to take care of that, to get a hold of that Donbass and use that as a base as well. That would help, and that would give us control of the Caribbean and whatever else. So yeah.
Well, Jimmy Carter gave it up though too, since we were talking about him before.
Yeah, which was a total mistake. I went through the Pentagon once, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now. So, all right, buddy. Well, listen, I got to wrap it up here. So that's it, the end of the clips. And thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, thanks for the producer for putting that breaking news up there. I appreciate it. I didn't know that was happening at the moment. I knew it was coming. I heard a little bit about it before, but I didn't want to report on it until I knew what happened. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on here domestically, a lot of stuff going on, overseas as well. But I don't think this war is between Israel and Iran is going to last. This is something where I think Iran is going to come begging for the table. They're not getting the support from Putin. They asked, and I believe Putin did speak to President Trump, and President Trump said, no, I'm not going to tell Israel to stop. And Putin, basically from reporting, went back to Iran and said, you're on your own. You're not getting any help from me, which is a good thing. I mean, what's that?
He's offering sanctuary.
To the
leadership.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, to the leadership. You can come over. I'll give you sanctuary, but he's not offering them anything. I don't think he has anything to offer anyway.
But notice, not to the rank and file. He's controlling his border on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Only
you. But all right, buddy. Listen. What was that?
He's saying only you 10 Iranians can come here. All the rest of us stay.
Yeah. They must have a lot of money, so that's probably why.
But all
right. Hey, thanks for coming on last minute, man. I really appreciate it.
But before you go, I will say this: between everything going on with Ukraine and Russia, Iran, Israel, Pakistan beating the war drum, and all these things, I think a lot of the nuclear countries, we should be unaware. I think it's already been proven that prayer works. 1962 with the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world prayed and global war was averted because God stopped it. I think we need to take a moment as a world and get the message of prayer so that God would and prevent global disaster. We have to take the actions, but we also have to pray hand. I really do. It worked once. I'm not saying he'll do it twice, but hey, faith.
Absolutely, brother. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. We're going to take a break, and then thank you, Albert. I'll talk to you later, and I'm just going to wrap it up.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
If you need anything, let me know. We'll be out and about supporting Up Down Ballot. as a force multiplier. All right.
All right. You got it. Thanks, man.
Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country, America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, everybody. Before we wrap up, first thing, as always, I want to go back to the GoFundMe for Seth. Well, it's Jonah Eisenberg, it says, but Seth Eisenberg, he's our podcaster from the Conservative Corner. Seth went through a lot. As you know, I've talked about it. And like I said before, he hates it. Nobody likes asking for money, but he had multiple surgeries on his foot, had a big hole in it, bones removed, everything else. He's just getting back to work, just getting back to podcasting. I mean, you see him sitting there talking, he's fine, but you didn't see him walk yet because he can't. He's having a lot of trouble. So anything you can do to help Seth out, we will really appreciate it. We're just trying to push it out there to pay for those medical bills that have piled up big time. He can use all the help that he can get. So if you can go to the GoFundMe and help Seth out, that would be great. And then I just want to touch base on all the rest of the shows. Obviously, Monday, 8 p.m., Jersey Shore. Friday at 8 p.m., we'll have the Jersey Shore radio show that I have on Thursdays from 5. Let me not confuse everybody. I'll just do it this way because I always do it separately. So basically, the podcast is Mondays and Fridays. So the radio show is Thursday. So I'll just start with Thursday. Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m., cruising 92.1 WVLT. If you don't live in New Jersey, you can get that on Facebook Live if you go on cruising 92.1 or go on my Facebook page at Damon and Galdo NJ, and it'll air on that live Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. And then what I do on Fridays, on this network, I air the show from 8 to 9, the radio show, and then I come on at 9 to wrap up the week. Do the loser and the Patriot of the week on Friday. And then Alexandra Levine is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Check her out. I mean, she's doing great things out there, our White House correspondent. And then Seth is Sundays at 7, Conservative Corner. And we have more podcasters coming on that we're working with right now with the contracts. And we're just going to keep growing. This is getting big. And thank you guys for listening. Thanks for everyone that makes their comments in the chats. And I'm not going to forget about the Pulse on Wednesdays. The Pulse is become a pretty big hit. It has multiple podcasters on it as guests that we rotate, but it's a good time. I actually have a really good time doing it. I know everyone else does, or they wouldn't do it, but people seem to like it a lot because you got different ways to look at things, and we have fun doing it. So that is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. The Pulse, and like I said, it's collaboration of all different podcasters, and we're going to rotate different guests. But the network is growing, and keep it up, and hit the like buttons and share it, and keep commenting in the comment section, whatever it is. We'll see it, we'll talk about it, whatever it might be. So that is basically it for tonight. Thank you guys for joining in. A lot of stuff going on, and I'll let you know how this election works out for me. I know they have one going on in Camden County right now. It might be over by now, because they basically switch up the rules. Now the committee gets to vote for people, which is a good thing. And to everyone out there in Gloucester County, I do think I'm the best candidate, because the only reason I do is because I'm not in it for myself. I'm in it to get rid of all the backroom deals and just do it for the people. Like I said, I didn't, I'm choosing you. That's what it is. I want to represent the people, and I'm beholden to nobody. So the only people I will answer to is the committee. No faction, no special interest, nothing like that. And if I lose, then I lose. But guess what? Whoever wins, it'll make them do a better job, because they know that there's someone there to take their seat. So next time this is up, or any election there is, the more people to run, the better. Give people the choice. Don't let anyone tell you who to vote for, who not to vote for, or divide anybody. Just let everybody run. Let people make their choice. That's what it's about. That's why, I talked about it earlier about, just giving people that choice. And once that person is elected, say in this primary, we're talking about the gubernatorial primary, Jack Chiarelli won. He's our guy. We have to get behind them. No infighting. And Bill Spadia, if you're listening, well, if you are not, you need to come out and throw your weight behind Jack. Hey man, and do it. If not, I'm going to be very upset because I wasted time just saying that I was voting for you. And I believe that you're that guy. I believe that you're going to. I mean, you just ran the race of your life. Spent all this time on it. Trust me, I know how it is. I didn't run the race that you did, but I know how it is. So taking a break for a little bit, but make sure you get out there and support Jack. I know you will. But if you don't, you're going to upset a lot of people. So just do the right thing and do it. And I believe that you will. And Jack is our guy. So go Jack. Everybody look up Jack Chiarelli. He's going to need all the help he can get. Mikey Sherrill or Mikey Sherrill, however you want to pronounce her. She pronounces it. That is another 4 years of Phil Murphy or even worse. And New Jersey cannot sustain it at all. They can't. So, and that's further down the line. But we have the state committee coming up, and all the committee people, if you're watching, just, hey, vote with your conscience. That's it. Don't listen to anybody else. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, I'm going to do a great job for you guys. And if you don't choose me, there's no hard feelings. I'm still going to keep fighting for the Republican Party. That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. Nothing is going to stop, stop me from supporting the Republican Party. That's what I'm about, and that's truly what I'm about. And it's hard to sell people sometimes because the reason why I think it's because if I heard somebody like me saying what I'm saying, that I'm really being selfless with this, and it's not for me, it's actually to make change, I would think that maybe I was full of shit, but I'm not. I love my kids too much. I love my family. I love my state. I love my country. And I think that we need better people in. And it's very important to get out the vote. Republicans did not come out to vote that strongly in this primary. I think we had like 22%. In the general, we had about 20% back in November. That's unacceptable, guys. And so that's really important to come out to vote. But what's even more important is for more people to get involved, more people to put their name on the ballot. I don't care if anybody wants to run against me. Do it. The more, the better. But get your name on the ballot, get involved, let the people decide if you're better or not. And if you're not good, they're going to vote you out. That's the way it was designed. It was designed that way for a reason. That's why we have primaries. That's why, like I said before, this is the greatest nation ever on the face of the earth. No one has touched, the way that we've done it. That's what made us the best, is because we had a different idea. I talked about George Washington on Friday. He had a different idea. Imagine somebody like that. And that's why I respect, everything he did. I don't know how he lived his life, obviously. I don't know him personally, obviously. But it was just the concept of it. Like George Washington, he decided he was not a king. And imagine, as a human being, if you won that war and you got away from the tyranny of the king of Britain, and people were begging you to stay in office, begging you to stay their president, and you finally just said, no, that's not what it's about. I'm going to turn all this power over to the people and have them elect somebody else. Imagine how hard that is. And that's why I respect it so much. And that's where I come from. Now, you might think that I'm naive, but whatever. That's what it was built upon. That's what it's supposed to be. And I'm going to keep fighting for it no matter what. So, again, thank you guys for joining. I will catch you on the Pulse Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Make sure you join in for the Pulse. It'll be a good show. Have a good night.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
nation's pride in this one big